Well, thanks everyone for joining. So I'll ask that you just mute your microphone if you're not trying to speak. I'm going to try to manage this a little bit better than I did last time, although our internet bandwidth issues have not been insignificant given everybody seems to be streaming and doing Zoom conferences and playing video games these days being home. So I'll get started at this point. I appreciate all of you guys joining and your interest in participating again. We're trying to really do the things that we can as an organization to number one, help manage the situation to the best degree possible, but also communicate with you as frequently and as openly as we possibly can. So from the start of this crisis, we've been doing a number of things as an organization. As you know, we've developed two new offerings, the COVID-19 programming, including the hotline that we launched. Those are services that are paid for by communities in order to have us assist them with the mental health issues that are related to the crisis. The second thing that we did was we developed the teletherapy program to help our clinicians work from home and to allow us the ability to reach patients who previously had been impossible for us to, or impractical for us to get to. So you guys being now able to work from home to conduct therapy sessions does not limit us to having to be in individual communities constantly or run back and forth between them. At this point, we can really see anyone, anywhere, anytime that it makes sense. So Dan and Candace and Heather and Linnea and I have worked hard to kind of, develop the teletherapy program and training in order to push that out. At the same time, we did a couple of press releases to promote these new programs to journalists. We sent the press releases to roughly 400 journalists. I did an interview with Senior Living News last week, and a story is being written right now. Many of you may have noticed that we updated our website to describe these new programs. We contracted with Ryan, who some of you have met, to begin pushing the stories of things each of you are experiencing in the field out to social media, as well as relay the benefits of the programming that we can offer to help older people with this issue. At the same time, we've employed LinkedIn. We did a LinkedIn campaign to roughly 20,000 people. We were targeting employees of senior living communities in a bunch of our target geographies. We're doing a Google AdWords campaign right now that's ongoing nationwide. Our search engine optimization efforts are underway. Our website traffic is up roughly 300% in the last couple of weeks since we started on all of that. And we've been doing email campaigns to current and former communities, any leads that we've had in Zoho. We've been sending things to social service agencies. Another 3,000 emails went out this morning. So as an organization, we've been trying to be as proactive as possible to spread the word in order to, help you guys maintain a caseload to the greatest extent possible. And we, really appreciate all the effort that has been made on your side to be flexible with us, to communicate more often than ever. The posts that you're putting up are helpful when you're using Connect, and very much appreciated. That's where Ryan's going to find stories to tweet out. Your engagement is really appreciated. And, at the same time, we need more. You guys are on the front lines. We're hearing that a lot of our clinicians are struggling because the work volume is down. So essentially, we as an organization have launched new programs, have doubled down on our marketing efforts, or tripled down in every possible way in the interest of being able to take advantage of the telehealth options that we now have available. And we really need your help to get the word out. You guys are on the front lines. I understand that right now is a downtime. So some of you may be taking the opportunity to spend more time with your families, but other clinicians of ours are really struggling. And so we need to do everything we can as an organization to pull together and be able to, reach out to as many people who could refer clients to us as humanly possible. So to do that, we need you to subscribe to, we're posting currently to LinkedIn, to Twitter, to Facebook, to Google My Business, to Instagram. So if you guys have those applications, please look up WellCore, join us, please retweet or republish our posts, share them with your friends, like them. We need you to reach out to everyone that could possibly refer us at this point. Telehealth makes things possible for us that weren't practical until now. Old patients that you may have had, POAs that you had relationships with, reach out to all of them, get the word out. Communities that you were in at one point, but we no longer service because it didn't make sense for you to drive there for just one or two patients. At this point, it does make sense if we can deliver telehealth services to those residents. Your friend groups, social service agencies, home health agencies, doctors, hospitals, associations that you may be a part of. All of those are potential channels for us to develop a referral stream from. We posted a link for those types of referrals. That's wellcore.com/gethelp. That pops up a form. So it's wellcore.com/gethelp. On that link, you can, or one of your friends can refer someone that goes to Heather, where eligibility will be checked and we can pull forward. But at this point, I think as an organization, we've done a lot to try to get out ahead of this, to create some new opportunities. And now it's up to you guys to help us get the word out so we can build a caseload for you again as we're down. So who has questions at this point that they'd like us to answer? If anyone would like to speak, please request to speak using this, and I can let you in. Hey, Letitia, I think that was you who may have just asked to speak.
Yes, I do have a question. I received something from the OPA today about telehealth services provided over the phone. And I guess those services are prohibited. So I guess my concern is for those individuals that may not have access to and or knowledge of how to do like FaceTime, Skype, things like that, that we would be limited in the provision of services to those people because Medicare will not cover telephone only telehealth.
Yeah, so I'll address that one and have Dan chime in on it. But the rules are changing literally minute by minute, state by state. Where Dan and I are on the phone versus video thing is, as an organization, we've made a decision to support the delivery of telehealth services by phone right now, given the practical limitations of the population that we serve. And so, yeah, ideally, we want to use one of the video services that are available, and we've even got Zoom now integrated into the new EHR. And when there is a resident who can figure out how to do that, that makes sense, but we're supportive of you using telephone. So I just read, as quickly as you're telling me you saw something in from your state, saying it was banned. I got another email saying it was allowed. And so it's
Oh,
all
wow.
over the place right now. It is totally minute by minute, state by state. If you talk to two people, you get two different answers. As an organization, we're trying to do what's best for the people, the residents that
Okay.
we, okay, that is our position. And Dan, do you want to elaborate on that at all?
Yeah, I think as you spoke to, our position is we want to help our patients to the best of our ability. We will fight the battles where we have to. So I don't want to give carte blanche to just say, go out and start doing all your services via phone. There needs to be an attempt to see if we can provide services using an authorized medium. And right now they basically approved almost any video conference. And as a last resort, if the only way you can provide services is via phone, go ahead and do it. We cannot leave our patients stranded.
Okay, great.
If you can provide service, provide it. We will fight the battles with Medicare or whoever to do it. As David said, there is multiple legislation in regard. There's also every advocate and group, the APA, the NASW, everyone is fighting to get restrictions lifted. And I believe if this goes on much longer, they will be lifted.
Yeah, that's wonderful. Because there are a lot of, of our residents out there who may not have access to that technology or may not know how to operate it. And so to not be able to provide services to them would just be a disgrace.
No, we have to provide services. We will fight the battle. We do ask, though, Heather, I know has included in the training that you make a notation in your notes that the services were provided via telephone.
Oh, okay.
Have you guys all been seeing all the postings that we've been doing? Our web traffic, as I said, is way up. We're posting social media posts every other day. I've seen some of them get more engagement than they had in the past. We're really reliant on you guys as the front lines. We have roughly 100 people out in the field. Each of you has numerous relationships, and then each of them has numerous relationships. And so if you can really help us get the word out on all of these fronts, and don't sit back and wait for the referrals to come in, help make them come in. Letitia got a couple this morning as a result of some of her efforts. And so we're really dependent, as an organization, we're doing everything we can. As I said, 3,000 emails went out this morning. We're sponsored on Google. We're doing the socials. We're advertising on LinkedIn. We're doing all of those things. But I think that the closest referrals that we can add are the ones that are folks that you have relationships with. So any help that you can provide there by looking a little bit outside of where you might normally look to make them aware of what we can do would be fantastic.
Christy, I noticed that you typed in a question, and it said, if it's telephone or video.
Mm-hmm.
So that's correct. Candace has been pretty clear, I think, on Connect about how the documentation needs to look.
Okay, yeah, I have another question. I was curious, I know Zoom has gotten some negative attention, and though we can use FaceTime, I still would like to be able to do a HIPAA compliant thing if I'm able to eventually do that with clients. So are we going to be able to go through the EHR for telehealth if we can get it figured out with clients?
So let me answer that. We have an integration in our current EHR with Zoom, and Heather has released instructions on how to utilize that. We are also looking to partner and looking into other options as well. Whether the other options will be integrated into the EHR, we can't answer right now, but we will have at least one or two other options that clients and our clinicians will be able to use other than Zoom. But right now you can utilize, they've pretty much opened up the spectrum to Skype. I think actually, if I'm not mistaken, Facebook is the only thing you can't use. And so I know you can, I believe you can use FaceTime. I believe you can use Skype. I know you can use Zoom. There have been questions about Zoom's security, so they have implemented some changes to it in regard to using passwords. But other than that, I would say whatever you can use it. And then going forward, we will have one or two preferred methods for doing video conferencing as a standard going forward.
Yeah, and I think it's important to note that and Christy, I understand the concerns about HIPAA and patient privacy. We're in a major national crisis right now, and as a result of that, the government agencies that are usually policing all of that have really relaxed, as Dan suggested, those guidelines. And so, even the normally used secure means of communication are being overwhelmed. And so they're basically saying, do what you got to do to take care of your patients. And that is precisely, as an organization, our position on whether it's phone or video. We need to just get the work done, take care of the people we can take care of. And over the coming weeks or months, these things will all start to clean themselves up. And, Yulia, I see your comment here related to, the state of Ohio and not allowing folks to cross state lines. Medicare is allowing clinicians to serve people. And Dan, can you speak to this, Medicare's change of position on state licensure and how that's evolving?
So Medicare basically has removed the restriction limiting people from practicing across jurisdictional lines. They've instituted a waiver that basically says that for telehealth, providers can provide services to as long as they're licensed in their home state, can provide services to any other location. There is a sub issue. So Medicare has basically said it's okay, that their restriction is removed. They have also it doesn't really affect us, but they've also removed a lot of the bottlenecks to getting enrolled in Medicare. They're giving out provisional enrollments, basically saying as long as you have a license to practice, you can be enrolled to provide Medicare services if you don't already have a Medicare number. All right. And now what that does not do, and there is some issues in regard to state licensure jurisdiction. So some of the states have been lagging to recognize these waivers for cross-state boundary provision of services. So most of them are actually coming across, and as David said, we're monitoring the Medical Board Federation website, which is tracking this on a state-by-state basis. And every day, more and more states are releasing their jurisdictional boundaries. So for us, for the most part, we're going by what Medicare says, and as long as we're going to try to limit the jurisdiction, so depending upon where a patient is calling from, if they're out of a jurisdiction we're currently covering, we're going to find we're trying to match them with a neighboring jurisdiction to provide a clinician. But for the most part, right now, most of these boundaries have been removed.
Yeah, so I think that goes to the point we were making earlier, that again, we are in a major national emergency where the psychological health of people is being impacted dramatically, and every day I'm seeing more and more headlines on the issues that are resulting from the crisis, not just with the senior community, but kind of generally speaking. So our position is, let's take care of the people. If there's a fight to get paid on a bill, or we get paid on a bill and someone, some agency objects it later, I think there's enough wind behind us to suggest that we'll win the fight right now under these circumstances. So, everybody's got to make a personal decision what you're comfortable doing. But as an organization, we're very comfortable conducting services, by phone, conducting services across state lines. And I think to someone's point, Yulia, it might have been you earlier who said, are we going to try to refer to, if we receive referrals in a state? Yes, our intent is to give them to clinicians in that state first. But if we get referrals outside of states that we're currently serving, this is a reason that we're maintaining lists of who has capacity and who wants telehealth services. So if we get a referral in Florida, we will go to the list of people who want to and have trained on telehealth, and we'll give them to you, and we'll deal with that problem if it comes down the road. But we think it's a very, very unlikely chance, and at worst, they might not pay us for a session. But we think that the benefits to providing the services in this way far, far outweigh the potential risks associated with them.
Yeah, I did also see something on a federal and state level that they are not in any of these infractions. I think it's important to touch upon it, that there are no civil penalties, meaning that, some people are saying, well, my license is at risk, or if I perform these services. No, the worst thing that could happen during this crisis is you don't get paid. We wouldn't get, the practice would not get paid. There is no licensure issue. There is no issue. Wherever possible, as long as you defer to providing services and taking care of the patient, you will not have any issues. All right. The worst thing that may happen is that we may not get paid for the service. That's it.
Yeah, and that's why that's a risk that we are, as an organization, willing to take. And so I know that some of you are looking up information from the APA and others on your own. The information you're getting is often dated. And again, it's changing day by day by day. Everybody needs to do what they're comfortable with. But as an organization, we feel very confident in the positions that we're taking and our ability to defend those. I think that Pat had a question around the documentation for a telehealth session. She asked, do I need to include in every note that it is a telephone session, even if we use the GT modifier? Pat, I would say, look, if you're conducting the session by telephone and not by video, yes, we should know that. In the note, it should say conducted session by phone because of patient's inability to navigate a video session. Does that sound right to you, Dan?
Yeah, I think in the note we should make it, some reference to an attempt, or a patient did not have the appropriate equipment, and we just want to note it that it was done via telephone, and that is not a GT modifier or any other. Is just a description of normal telehealth services. We should, just for our compliance purposes, have a notation that for any services that were provided by telephone only.
Yeah, Candace has published what she wants in the note. And it's very clear, and I think it should be universal for everybody to be indicating the same thing. And I think it says session was conducted by phone or video due to COVID-19. So if she's here and can chime in.
Candace, activate your mic if you can. And in the meantime, Teresa Appleby, I think, had a question.
Yes, I was just wondering if we know of or think that there may be some funding on the horizon for seniors to obtain smartphones or tablets, allowing them to participate in video conferencing.
I think so. What's happened up until this point, I just actually had this conversation with a colleague yesterday. What's happened until this point, Medicare has taken a wait and see attitude for telehealth in general. And up until the beginning of this crisis, had only authorized its use, especially for mental health, in rural areas where there wasn't enough coverage for providers. Okay. I truly believe, and I believe the industry is starting to come around, that this is now going to become commonplace. So I believe that going forward, telehealth, especially for behavioral and mental health services, will start to be more recognized, and they will start to make provisions, whether it's the community or seniors themselves. I believe that there will be an infrastructure to support telehealth. The reason there isn't one now is just because that there was no reason to have one. And I think after this, just for contingency purposes and just because I believe the program's going to be expanded, that I think you will start to see communities and I hope seniors and residents start to embrace and have the proper equipment for telehealth.
Yeah, and as you know, we deployed the new EHR, and one of our, you know, requirements for the system was that it was set up to facilitate telehealth. And so Heather and Candace even created a new note for these sessions. And so I think, I think as we move forward, this is going to be part of our strategy. And I think it should ultimately make our ability to maintain caseloads, make us a little bit more able to maintain and grow caseloads and give you guys a little more flexibility to work from home. That is the direction that we'd like to see this go. But right now things are moving so quickly and changing so fast that we haven't gotten the growth that we think we'll see soon from this opportunity. Who else has? Candace, did you want to chime in on the documentation stuff?
No, I think Linnea said it really well. I would document which you have done either by phone or by using a computer system. That way we know and we can track it too. If there's an issue, we don't have to come back to you and say, what did you use this time? And I think documenting due to COVID, I think as long as we clearly document, we have something to speak to. If it's not documented, it didn't happen. So you can say you attempted to do telehealth and your client was anxious about it. You didn't want to heighten their anxiety. That speaks to their level of anxiety right now as well, as an example. So I think it's better to document it then you don't have to worry about it later on.
Yeah, I agree. When in doubt, write it down, and then it gives us something to speak to. Nobody can challenge it. What did you do? Why did you do it? If it's in there, we can defend it. And look, we realize that things are so volatile. 1 minute a community is pulling you in, the next minute they're locking you out. If we look at things a little bit from their perspective, they're kind of fighting for their lives, literally and figuratively at this point. The communities are scared. They've got an at-risk population, and in Washington, that community is being sued for deficiencies in care. And so I'm not surprised that some of them are taking, very conservative, drastic measures to keep us out. Now, is that good for us? No. Do I agree with it? No. I think that this is a mental health crisis as much as it is a physical health crisis. And as an organization, we're trying to be smart. And so in cases where communities are saying, we're worried about cross-contamination, so we're not allowing folks from home health agencies to come in. Linnea has been really good about following up on that and saying, okay, well, we can have our clinician remain at only your community, and they'll conduct telehealth services for their other patients elsewhere. So we are trying to respect the one-to-one relationship between a community and a clinician, if that'll help us remain in the building where it makes sense. In a few cases, and it's been super beneficial to our knowledge. Carla is at Library Terraces, full time right now, delivering services to residents who are not simply those covered by Medicare. She has become a resource for the community that they're really, really thrilled with. And I know Wendy's doing the same at Prairie City Landing in California, coming in to support their staff. And so we need these communities to really see us as an important resource right now to help them deal with the bigger issues they're facing. So we've heard reports from some of our clinicians. The staff's exhausted, they're burned out, they're crying, breaking down. We've got many, many issues that we can help with, but we need to be smart about it. And so if it means you going to one community and conducting services from there, let's do that. Let's just not roll over and tuck in right now. We need to get the word out wider. We need to be smart. We need to look for opportunities to provide services and help, and work as a team to push our way through this.
Yeah, and I think this is Linnea, everybody. I think David made a good point. So for those of you that are in this town hall that aren't aware, yes, we're being locked out of some communities, but we're also being pulled in by others who consider us just as essential as the doctor that's coming in. And so for that small handful of communities, we do have clinicians going in for full-time days. And they're asking that, yes, please help us not just assist our current clients, but also assist with supporting the staff. So, there's a spectrum that's happening across the nation. And so this is an opportunity for us to show our communities what we can do. Carla, Wendy, everyone's been doing such a great job. So.
Yulia just asked a question about providing equipment to communities. That's something that we'd have to really reserve for the future. Not only because it's potentially cost prohibitive, but also the rollout process would have to take place at a time where we could get the time and attention needed to make it make sense. And so this is something that we contemplated weeks ago. The questions are just endless. What type of device, what capability, who at the community is actually going to handle it? How do we get the device into the right person's hands at the right time? Who's going to train on it when somebody has a technical problem? Who's going to respond to that? And like even this right now, with some of you not being able to speak or hear me or figure the system out, the issues that would come up if we tried to roll a program out across communities where we're responsible for the equipment would not only be expensive, but it would crush us from a support perspective. So my understanding is most, if not all, communities at this point have a handful of devices that they're using. So we need to work with them to get us to help us facilitate this. And going forward, one of the things that Dan really wants to incorporate into the demographics of a particular patient coming in is, do they have a cell phone? Do they have a computer? Are they capable of doing things? What is the contact information for the POA or someone else? So that in a situation like this going forward, we understand exactly where we are and who we can work with and who we can't. Because I believe that part of our challenge to date has been just separating what is the community capable with, what is the resident capable of, what systems do they have. So I think, look, as we roll forward with telehealth, these will all be things that we implement over time. But I think at this point, for us to push out some organization-wide send hardware to communities and using them, that would be extremely challenging.
Right. And in an effort to be solution focused right now, something that Jean has done is she's reached out to all of the POAs of her clients, and they have given their parents whoever or a tablet to use. So the POAs are wanting their parents that are isolated in their rooms to be in contact with us. And so they are supplying some sort of electronic device so that they can even just FaceTime their mom and help their mom connect with their clinician. So that's been a way to kind of circumvent that issue.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. And I think that Julia Hammond in California has done a particularly good job being scrappy about, figuring out how to get the right devices in front of people who can handle them. And so I think her creativity there, engaging the community, engaging POAs and residents, I think all of that has been really helpful. And Jean, hats off to you for doing the same. I think that's really great. Regarding Letitia just asked a really good question. She said, and Yulia, I know you had expressed this concern previously. Acknowledgement forms, people touching laptops, tablets, things like that. Right now, the reason that we added the caveat that you can use the UTS unable to sign language in the acknowledgement form right now. If you put UTS COVID on it, just put it in there, or put in the notes they couldn't sign the acknowledgement form because we couldn't have them touch the device. That's another one of those. This isn't a company policy for us. We need acknowledgement forms, but we have to use common sense. So I would agree. We can't have somebody touch your pen, your tablet, your anything right now because of risk of infection. That's fine. We'll defend that if we need to. Dan, you agree with that?
100%.
Yeah, again, a lot of these things, it's common sense. Right now we're in crisis. The rules have changed. As a company, we're taking risks we wouldn't normally take, but they're calculated ones within the context of the situation that we're facing. So the most important thing you can do is try to make sure that every community understands that we are here to help. People you don't normally reach out to, you spread the word with. And then as we get referrals, we'll push them back out to you. And so we've tried to make this as easy as possible. Again, creating that link, wellcore.com/gethelp. Anybody who wants to see, they go into the system, it goes to Heather. Heather runs eligibility. She'll take care of the consent package electronically, and then we'll assign the clinician to it based on geography or what they're looking for. We've got our hotline set up. We've got the teletherapy inquiry line set up that's going to Linnea. So we've done many, many things here to try to help rebuild caseloads for you to keep you as busy as you can, and as we can. But you're 100 people that if each of you speaks with 5 people and they each speak with 5, all of a sudden, I think we could pull in a few hundred potential new referrals because of the opportunities that we have that would help put a lot of your concerns at ease for some time. This is kind of in our hands, I think, to a degree.
Yeah, and if I could just jump in, I'd like to encourage everybody to, even if you are locked out of your community, at least once a week, check in with your ED, your nurse, whoever your contact is, just to say, hey, I'm here, I'm conducting telehealth. How are you? I'm still available if you need anything or have any questions. Candace, myself, David, we are still doing that, but you guys are the ones that have those on the ground relationships that are just as super important. So if you guys could keep doing those check-ins, I think it's going to make a difference, because here in California, we've had doors closed and then reopened just by checking in.
Yeah, and a lot of the time, the communities they're getting some sort of corporate directive that's some blanket directive, and there's not context around it. All outside providers are out. Well, and then Linnea speaks with them and say, what does that even mean? Well, we know in Sabrina's case, Sabrina only goes to one community. And so she went and had that fight. Don't you have a call on that coming up, Linnea? Hopefully to make progress getting her back in?
Yeah, I went above the ED and called one of the administrators, and she said, okay, yeah, listen, you guys are definitely an essential care worker. Let me see what I can do. And then I have a follow-up. It was supposed to be today at 11, but we're connecting at 1. So there's always somebody to talk to.
Yeah. So,
And this
and
also
I'm
hits Sabrina back.
Linnea, me, Matthew, Candace, we're happy to call anybody you want us to call at any time. So if you're getting pushback or resistance and you want to be the good cop and you want us to be the bad cop and really push it, happy to do that. Just let us know that you need our help. Okay, David Giella just asked updates on other insurance companies and HMOs. Dan has in front of him. Dan, you can speak to it, but we're engaging a credentialing company, I think, today, actually, to start working on this process for it. Dan, could you just elaborate on that to help address David and Letitia's questions?
Yeah, we're starting to work with a company to help us get empaneled within as many Medicare Advantage and commercial insurance plans as possible. We're going to start with the big ones like United Healthcare, Aetna, the Blues, Anthem, and to Blue Cross Blue Shield to really start to get our coverage expanded. To do that, we may need some help for the clinicians who haven't already provided their credential information, but I'm pretty sure we have almost everything we need, but we'll be reaching out as we go forward. So hopefully in the next couple of months, we'll be able to start to get the ball rolling to get enrolled and recognized by a lot of these carriers.
And Dan, Letitia had an interesting question that I hadn't heard about. Letitia is suggesting that some insurance companies are allowing in-network, out-of-network providers to provide services right now. Are you aware of a trend happening in this regard?
In hard-hit areas, they're relaxing the participation restrictions for treatment. It's mostly medical. I haven't seen anything expand into mental yet. But yes, in some cases, especially in hard hit areas like New York, they're relaxing. A lot of the carriers they're doing a bunch of things. A lot of the carriers have eliminated deductibles and copays for telehealth and for COVID-19 treatment. And I know that some commercial carriers have removed restrictions for participation. But that's only, all of those participation restrictions are temporary. The relaxation of those restrictions are completely temporary, only for crisis situations.
Yeah, so we're tracking all of this, and we'll try to report to you as we can. At this point, I think, look, if we can get referrals from any source, anyone who is in touch with the elderly population that we have the very unique skills and experience to deal with, or their families, or where they live. And this isn't senior living specific anymore. It doesn't matter. If someone is living at home independently and they're freaking out because they're isolated, if they're at home in their house of their whole life, they are someone that we could potentially serve. So at this point, given telehealth, there's a big universe that we can get to. If we can get referrals through that link, we will try to do everything we can to get them covered in a way that will allow you to serve them. So we are no longer limited to assisted living, skilled nursing, independent living communities. We sent an email blast out to adult day facilities this morning. Matthew found a list of adult day facilities in Texas, 345 contacts in Texas. Amanda, we sent that out. And so any of these places are potential referral streams for us. Not that we would want you to drive there and see them, but we want to add to your caseload at home. Anybody else have questions, comments? Yeah, Amanda, I see your note there. We also sent emails to 983 other skilled nursing and senior living communities in the state of Texas on Friday and again today. So another list that Matthew turned up. So we're pushing to get the word out everywhere we can. And, you know, we've got, I think all of us here on the leadership team have reason to believe that getting our name out the way we have been is ultimately going to help. So right now, everybody's just in survival mode. But on the other side of this, I think that some of this work should begin to bear fruit. And if we can retain the telehealth stuff, I think that makes things pretty interesting for all of us. We just need to get through this, this trying period. Letitia, I like the way you're thinking. If we get an overabundance of referrals, what's the process for assigning those to clinicians?
Mm-hmm.
I love that question.
Yes, because I mean, if we get too many, and so even like for like here in Ohio, if our clinicians get too many, like what is the process of then assigning those to other clinicians in other states or whatever?
Yeah, this will be a high class problem. So I think at this point, what Linnea has done is Linnea and Candace made a list of clinicians who have expressed an interest in doing telehealth services. And so we're just going to create a pool to say if everyone is full in the areas that these people are coming from, we'll go to the next person on the list who is raising their hand saying they want help, provided that they have qualified themselves with Candace, qualified themselves with Candace to be proficient in the delivery of telehealth services.
Okay.
Okay. And Jen, I see your note, Jen. Several of mine have too. I'm not sure, Jen, if you can hear me, if you can speak right now. I'm happy to have you. But look, I think we need referrals. Referrals feed the organization and they feed you guys. And so anything you can do to engage with the content we're creating to help us get the word out there, this could be a very big opportunity for the company. You guys are uniquely equipped to handle the situations and the challenges that are facing this population. Let's get out and make it happen. Any other questions? Anybody else want to comment, question? Nima, if you had a question, I think you said yours was answered, but if anybody else before we sign off wants to ask anything, now's a great time. And if you think these sessions are helpful, we can do them weekly for right now. I love the ideas you're coming up with in the engagement here. It's so helpful to see this company operate like a team that's working together. Dan and I have always, and actually all of us have envisioned you as this network from coast to coast that we need to pull together as a really well-equipped team. Each of you has, Jen does pet therapy. Julia is a neuropsychologist. We've had folks with all kinds of different skills and experience. And if you work together, I feel that we can really make some great things happen. Julia, no age restrictions. Our wheelhouse is in seniors, but frankly, if we had a 24-year-old who was stressed out right now, I'm sure we'd find one of you that could relate well to them. Okay, so there's no age restriction. Our licensure, our ability to deliver services extends out beyond the senior population, although that's been our specialty. Now, the question is, will the person who's being referred to us have insurance that we can take? That's the question. Yeah, and Sue, I think that's great. Sue is saying here she's making a list of places that she has in mind where we could promote what we're doing. Send it to us. Like ask me or Linnea for help directly on that. again, we've got our campaigns functionality set up to be able to push emails out the door to big lists. I'm happy to make phone calls personally to small lists. So if there are people you know who you think would benefit from anything, we want to leverage the Rolodexes each of you have to get the word out. Any other questions? I don't want to keep you guys. Yeah, I think Letitia, that's a great point. Letitia just talked about us making a list of the specialties and experience of some of our clinicians. I think, Letitia, that's a great idea. And so let me think about a way in Connect for us to have you log what some of your strengths are. I think that would be really good so that if situations, we've always wanted to do that organizationally, to be able to say, leverage each other with the experiences each of us has. So let me think about a way to post that where I can give you guys an ability to type in what are the things that you've done in a prior life that you think could benefit some of the people right now. So I'll put something together to get that up over the next day or so.
Awesome. Thanks, David.
Anyone else? It looks like someone's trying to ask a question.
Okay, hi David, thank you. David, I have two clients that left me just before this crisis went into full force. One was mid-February, went to a new assisted living nearby, and another one who went to New York. So during this time of crisis, for example, the one in New York has called me back and is wondering if we could have telehealth sessions, even though she's promised that a social worker is about to make contact with her. However, during this time of crisis, is it reasonable if I conduct telehealth therapy with her?
Please, by all means, do. Mm-hmm. That is exactly a use case that I had in mind. Many of you who have residents who've moved, who've terminated services for one reason or another, the in-state, out-of-state, at this point, it doesn't matter. It's a perfect opportunity for you to help people that you've established a relationship with get those services going. Yes.
And as long as they are open, I mean, in the electronic health record, if I type their name and they're there, that means they're still open with us, with our system?
If
they just in February, they probably are still open. If not, you just reach out to Heather or myself and we'll work out those details.
You got it. Thank you.
Yeah, that's easy. We'd have to move them in the system if they're in a different state potentially. And so just let us know what you need to do. We can fix it and adjust to it.
Very nice. Thank you.
But yeah, Nima, that's the kind of creativity and thought process we need. Absolutely.
You got it. Thank you.
Yeah, and as Heather said here, if someone's missing in the EHR that you think should be in there, we can get them added. No problem.
Good. Thank you.
Any others, guys? And most important here of all of this is, we care about you guys. And so really take care of yourselves, take care of your families, be smart. We don't want anyone to take unnecessary risks here. And, that's clearly not worth it. But at the same time, these people need us. We need to be there for them. And as an organization, we're trying to be as nimble and creative as we can to turn a very difficult situation into an opportunity for all of us. All right. Well, thank you guys so much.
Thanks, everybody. And we most likely will do this again next week. I kind of like starting off Monday together.
Thank you.